What if the vitamin D supplement you have been faithfully taking every day, the one your doctor recommended, the one you buy without a second thought, is not only failing to protect your bones and your heart, but is quietly sending calcium into the wrong places in your body? Not into your bones where it belongs, but into your arterial walls, your kidneys, and the soft tissues that are never supposed to harden. And what if the difference between benefit and harm comes down to one thing that almost nobody mentions when vitamin D is prescribed? Before you take your next vitamin D capsule, you need to know what I'm going to tell you. Because the science behind this is specific, it is documented in peer reviewed research, and it changes everything about how this supplement should be used after the age of 60. My name is Dr. Sarah Envem. I have spent 16 years in internal medicine and preventive health, working almost exclusively with adults over 60. And I want to tell you about the observation that changed the way I approach vitamin D in my practice. Several years ago, I began reviewing the blood work of patients who were already supplementing with vitamin D, patients who had been taking it for years on the advice of previous physicians. A significant number had vitamin D levels that looked acceptable on paper, but their calcium metabolism markers, their arterial stiffness indicators, and their bone density results told a more complicated story. The supplement was present, the benefit was not fully arriving. This video contains no products, no affiliate links, and no agenda. Everything I share is grounded in published, peer-reviewed research. Where the evidence is strong, I will say so. Where it is still developing, I will say that too. What I hope to give you today is the conversation that a 15-minute appointment rarely has time for. Here's what is happening in the body of virtually every adult over 60 who is not addressing this correctly, and most are not. Vitamin D is not a vitamin in the conventional sense. It functions as a hormone. Your body produces it when ultraviolet B rays from sunlight hit your skin and trigger a conversion process completed in the kidneys, producing the active form, calcitriol, that your cells actually use. This active form governs calcium absorption from food, regulates immune function, influences muscle strength, and plays a documented role in reducing systemic inflammation. In research published in the New England Journal of Medicine and JAMA Internal Medicine, has consistently confirmed that vitamin D deficiency is associated with increased risk of fractures, cardiovascular disease, immune dysfunction, and cognitive decline. Now here is where age becomes the critical variable. First, skin conversion declines with age. The skin's capacity to synthesize vitamin D from sunlight decreases significantly after the age of 60. Research suggests the conversion efficiency may be less than half that of younger adults. Older adults also spend less time outdoors, often use sunscreen appropriately, and have less skin surface area exposed. The result is that the primary natural source of vitamin D is dramatically reduced precisely when the body's need for it is increasing. Second, kidney activation declines. The final conversion step from the storage form, 25-hydroxyvitamin D, to the active form, calcitriol, takes place in the kidneys. Kidney function naturally declines with age, and research published in the American Journal of Kidney Diseases has documented that this conversion becomes less efficient after 60. This means that even when the storage form of vitamin D looks adequate in blood work, the active form available to tissues may be meaningfully lower than the number suggests. Third, without the right cofactor, vitamin D actively misroutes calcium. This is the mechanism most people, and many clinicians, do not discuss. Vitamin D increases calcium absorption from food, but calcium requires a molecular escort, a protein called osteocalcin, or activated by vitamin K2, to be directed into bone tissue rather than deposited in soft tissues and arterial walls. Without adequate vitamin K2, the calcium that vitamin D mobilizes has nowhere specific to go. Research published in the Journal of Nutrition and in Thrombosis and Hemostasis has documented the functional interdependence of vitamins D and K2 in calcium regulation. I want to pause here. If you are currently taking vitamin D but not vitamin K2, if you take your supplement on an empty stomach or with a low-fat meal, or if you have never had your actual blood level tested and adjusted, type yes in the comments right now. Because what I am describing is not a rare edge case. It is the standard way vitamin D supplementation is handled for most adults over 60, and it is leaving significant benefit on the table at best. What accumulates silently over years of vitamin D taken incorrectly is a body absorbing more calcium than it can direct properly, contributing to arterial calcification, reduced bone mineral density despite supplementation, and persistent inflammation that the vitamin D was supposed to help address. The supplement is present, the mechanism is incomplete. Beverly is 67, a retired school counselor from Colorado. She came to see me after 2 years of worsening fatigue, persistent low-level joint aches, and a bone density scan that had declined despite the fact that she had been taking 1,000 IU of vitamin D every morning for 3 years, exactly as recommended by her previous GP. 2 doctors had reviewed her results and told her that bone density loss at 67 was to be expected and that her vitamin D levels were adequate. When I reviewed Beverly's full labs, her 25-hydroxy vitamin D level was 28 nanograms per milliliter, technically within the sufficient range used by many labs, but well below the 40 to 60 nanograms per milliliter range that research in the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism associates with optimal musculoskeletal function. More significantly, she had no vitamin K2 in her supplement regimen at all, and she was taking her vitamin D capsule first thing in the morning with black coffee and no food. I asked Beverly one question no one else had asked. "What are you taking it with?" She paused. "Nothing," she said. "Just water before breakfast." I adjusted her protocol, the dose, the timing, and the missing cofactor. 6 weeks later, her follow-up energy levels had meaningfully improved, and her joint aches had reduced noticeably. And she told me, "I thought I was doing everything right. I had no idea there was a right and a wrong way to take a vitamin." This was not a miracle. This was Beverly's body responding to better conditions. Conditions she had simply never been given the information to create. Before I tell you what to do, I want to show you the 3 specific ways vitamin D supplementation goes wrong after 60. Understanding each mechanism is what makes the correction stick. Vitamin D increases your intestinal absorption of calcium, but calcium needs a molecular escort, proteins activated by vitamin K2, to be deposited in bone rather than in arterial walls and soft tissues. Vitamin K2 in the MK7 form activates osteocalcin and matrix GLA protein, which direct calcium into bones and actively inhibit its deposition in arteries. Without K2, the calcium mobilized by vitamin D circulates without complete directional guidance. Research published in Thrombosis and Hemostasis has documented that vitamin K2 supplementation reduces arterial calcification in at-risk populations. Taking vitamin D without K2 is delivering increased calcium absorption without the infrastructure to direct it correctly. Vitamin D is fat-soluble. This is not a minor detail. It is a fundamental aspect of how the molecule behaves in the digestive system. Without dietary fat present, the micellar transport system that carries fat-soluble vitamins from the gut into the bloodstream operates at a fraction of its normal efficiency. And research published in the Journal of the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics has found that vitamin D absorption is measurably higher when taken with a fat-containing meal compared to a fasted state. Taking your supplement with black coffee, water, or a low-fat breakfast means a significant portion of the dose passes through without being absorbed. Most adults over 60 supplement vitamin D at whatever dose was initially suggested, often 1,000 IU, and never retest. But vitamin D requirements vary enormously between individuals based on baseline levels, sun exposure, kidney function, and body weight. Research published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition has found that the same oral dose produces dramatically different blood levels across individuals, and supplementing without testing is guessing. And for a hormone that affects bone density, immune function, and cardiovascular health, guessing is a poor strategy. I know what some of you are thinking. I have been taking vitamin D for years. If I were doing it wrong, surely my doctor would have noticed. Here's why that may not have happened. Most routine blood work measures 25-hydroxy D, the storage form, but does not assess K2 status, absorption efficiency, or whether the active form is reaching tissues. A result in the sufficient range gets treated as sufficient. The cofactor gap, the absorption gap, and the dosing gap are not flagged because nobody asked. The deficit is invisible in a standard panel, but it accumulates silently over years in your calcium metabolism, your bone architecture, and your arterial health. There is a protocol that closes all three of these gaps at once, and it is not complicated. But the mechanism matters, so stay with me. The solution is this. Take vitamin D3, not D2, together with vitamin K2 in the MK7 form with your fattiest meal of the day, at a dose informed by your actual tested blood level. Those are the 4 corrections. Each one closes a specific gap in the mechanism I described. Here's the biology. D3, cholecalciferol, is the form your skin naturally synthesizes from sunlight. Research published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition has confirmed D3 is meaningfully superior to D2 in sustaining 25-hydroxy D blood levels over time. D2 is still found in some prescription supplements and fortified foods. Check your label. K2 in the MK7 form has the longest half-life of the K2 variants, remaining active for roughly 72 hours, making once-daily dosing effective. At 90 to 200 micrograms per day, MK7 has been shown in research published in Osteoporosis International to support bone mineral density and reduce arterial calcification that can occur when calcium is mobilized without adequate directional signaling. The fat-soluble absorption piece is straightforward. Take your supplement with the meal in your day that contains the most healthy fat: avocado, olive oil, eggs, nuts, oily fish. This is typically lunch or dinner, not a fasted breakfast. The evidence for this combined approach is solid and well established in current clinical nutrition science. But this is only the first layer. What I am about to show you next multiplies every benefit I just described. And it costs nothing extra. Martin is 74, a retired electrician from Ohio. He had been diagnosed with osteopenia, the precursor to osteoporosis, 18 months before he came to see me. His specialist had prescribed high-dose vitamin D and calcium carbonate tablets. He was taking both faithfully. His follow-up scan showed minimal improvement, and he had been told this was likely the limit of what could be achieved at his age. What Martin had never told his specialist, never said aloud to anyone in a medical context, was that he had started sleeping in the spare room 3 months earlier. His wife had not asked him to. He had moved himself quietly, because he was waking at 3 or 4 in the morning with leg cramps so severe they frightened him, and he did not want her to know how bad it had become. He lay in the dark in that spare room, alone, running his hands over his shins. I'm wondering whether this was what the years ahead looked like. He had not told his children. When I reviewed Martin's supplement regimen, the issue was immediately apparent. Calcium carbonate, the form in most over-the-counter calcium supplements, requires stomach acid for absorption and is poorly absorbed in older adults whose stomach acid production has naturally declined. And he had no K2 whatsoever. The vitamin D was mobilizing calcium, the calcium carbonate was poorly absorbed, and without K2, whatever calcium was entering his system had no directional protein to guide it into bone. I adjusted his protocol, switching to calcium citrate, adding K2 MK7, correcting timing and fat co-ingestion. At his 8-week follow-up, the nocturnal leg cramps had stopped. He had moved back into the bedroom. And his next bone density scan at 6 months showed measurable improvement. He told me, "I moved back into our room and didn't say a word about why I had left. She just looked at me and said, 'You seem like yourself again.'" Here's the complete numbered protocol. Every element has a specific physiological reason. Do not skip any step without understanding what you are skipping. Ask your doctor for a 25-hydroxy vitamin D test. It is a standard blood draw. The result tells you your baseline. Research consistently identifies the 40 to 60 nanograms per milliliter range as optimal for musculoskeletal and immune function in adults over 60. If your level is below 30, a higher initial dose is typically appropriate. If it is already above 60, additional supplementation requires care. You cannot optimize a dose you have never measured. If your doctor does not routinely order this, ask for it directly. Check your current supplement label. If it says ergocalciferol or vitamin D2, switch to cholecalciferol, vitamin D3. D3 is available at any pharmacy without prescription. A typical supplementation range for adults over 60 with confirmed insufficiency is 2,000 to 4,000 IU daily. But your tested level should guide your specific dose in consultation with your physician. Look for a combined D3/K2 supplement or add K2MK7 separately at 100 to 200 micrograms per day. This is the step most people are missing. And based on the research in Thrombosis and Hemostasis and Osteoporosis International, it is the step that determines where the calcium you are absorbing actually goes. Move your supplement from your morning coffee routine to whichever meal contains the most healthy fat. For most adults, this is lunch or dinner. A meal containing olive oil, eggs, avocado, nuts, or oily fish provides the fat matrix your gut needs to absorb fat-soluble vitamins efficiently. Once you have been on the corrected protocol for 3 to 6 months, retest your 25-hydroxy vitamin D level. Adjust dose if needed. This is not a one-time correction. It is an ongoing calibration. I want to tell you about Gloria, 70, a retired librarian from Virginia. Gloria had made every correction in the protocol but was still reporting minimal improvement in her energy at 4 weeks. When I asked her to walk me through exactly how she was taking her supplement, she described taking it at dinner. But dinner for Gloria was typically a light salad with no dressing and a piece of plain fish. Almost no fat. She had understood with a meal, but not with fat. I explained the absorption mechanism specifically. She switched to taking it at lunch, which for her included olive oil, avocado, and nuts. Within 3 weeks, she reported a clear improvement. "You would think someone would put that on the bottle," she said. Exactly right, Gloria. They should. The total investment for this protocol, a standard D3/K2 combined supplement, costs between $8 and $20 per month at any pharmacy. A single blood test, often covered by insurance for adults over 60. That is the complete financial commitment, assuming your current dose is correct because your doctor prescribed it years ago. Vitamin D requirements are not static. Your kidney function, body weight, sun exposure, and baseline levels all shift over time, and so should your dose. A dose that was appropriate 5 years ago may be insufficient now. The only way to know is to test. Patients who feel they are already taking vitamin D and skip retesting often remain deficient or insufficient for years without realizing it. Taking vitamin K2 at a different time than vitamin D? Some people take them separately, D in the morning, K2 at night, under the impression that spacing supplements out is always better. For this particular pair, co-administration matters because both are fat-soluble and share the same absorption pathway. Taking them together with a fat-containing meal maximizes the efficiency of both. Splitting them across the day, especially if one dose falls on an empty stomach, reduces the benefit of both. Attempting to correct years of deficiency? Add a new supplement, change timing, and adjust your diet all in the same week. Your morning routine is a deeply grooved habit. Disrupting every element simultaneously creates friction that leads to abandonment within days. Introduce one change at a time. Start with the meal timing this week, add the K2 next week, schedule the blood tests the week after. Within 2 weeks, the new routine feels entirely natural, and you are receiving the full benefit of the complete protocol. Tonight, one thing, check the label on your current vitamin D supplement. Does it say D2 or D3? Does it include K2? Does it say take with food without specifying fat? Write down what you find. That is the entire ask for tonight. This week, call or message your doctor's office and request a 25-hydroxy vitamin D blood test. This is a standard, inexpensive test, often covered by insurance for adults over 60, and it is the foundation of everything else. If your current supplement is D2 or does not include K2, replace it. A combined D3/K 2MK7 supplement is available at any large pharmacy for $8 to $20 per month. Ongoing, D3 with K, 2MK7 with your fattiest meal of the day, at a dose informed by a tested blood level, retested every 3 to 6 months. The 30-day challenge. Track 3 things each morning: your energy level on waking, your muscle comfort, and your general sense of physical steadiness. Come back to the comments in 30 days and tell me what changed. I will read every single one. I want to say something to you directly before you go. You are not broken. Is some of what you have accepted as the inevitable cost of getting older is nutritional? And nutritional problems have nutritional solutions. I am not telling you that correcting your vitamin D protocol will reverse diagnosed osteoporosis, replace your prescribed medications, or undo decades of calcium metabolism overnight. I would never overstate what the evidence supports, and I have been careful throughout this video to tell you honestly where the research is strong and where it is still developing. What I am telling you is this: vitamin D is one of the most studied micronutrients in senior health, and the gap between how it is typically recommended and how it actually works in the body is significant, well documented, and entirely closable. This information is published, accessible, and simply does not make it into most 15-minute appointments. You came here today and you stayed. That matters. The people who return to these videos are almost always paying close attention to their health and doing their genuine best with the information they have. I want you to have better information. If this video gave you something honest and useful, I have one request. Think of one person in your life, not everyone you know, one person who takes vitamin D, who deals with fatigue or bone concerns or unexplained joint discomfort. One click sends this to them. One person. If you are new here, subscribe. Every week, I bring you evidence-based health information designed specifically for adults over 60, practical, honest, and grounded in what the published research actually shows, not what is easiest to explain in a brief appointment. Before you go, leave one comment. Are you currently taking vitamin D? Do you know your actual blood level? I read every comment personally because everyone watching this matters to me, not as a viewer, as a patient. Your body has not given up on you. Give it the conditions it needs to do that work well. Close-up of vitamin D supplement bottle with label visible. Natural sunlight falling on seniors' hands or arms outdoors. A fat-containing meal being prepared. Olive oil, avocado, eggs, doctor reviewing blood work results at a desk. Pharmacy supplement aisle. Senior reading a label. Anatomical animation of calcium moving through bone versus arterial wall. Senior walking steadily outdoors in natural light. And display key terms during science section with brief definitions. 25-hydroxy vitamin D. Calcitriol, osteocalcin, matrix gloprotein, MK7. Show the 5 protocol steps as a numbered graphic overlay during Section 8. Display type yes in the comments on screen during the symptom callout in Section 3. Display optimal blood level range, 40 to 60 nanograms per milliliter, as a graphic reference during the reveal section. Split image, left side shows a standard vitamin D bottle with a bold red X overlay. Right side shows Dr. Envem with a direct concerned expression pointing at camera. Bold white text, "You're taking vitamin D wrong." Subtext, "Doctor explains what's missing."